More than 600 wildfires are still burning in California today, but officials say better weather is helping them in this fight. Video from inside Redwood State Park shows that despite the damage, some ancient trees there are still standing. Firefighters across the state believe they are making some progress, but they expect this to be a long battle. And all of this comes as at least 7 people have lost their lives to these flames. Jonathan Vigliotti is tracking efforts to control the damage.
14,000 firefighters are racing to keep some of the largest wildfires California has ever seen from getting any bigger.
We are essentially living in a mega fire era. We have folks that have been working for CAL FIRE for the last 5 years, and that's all they've understand is mega fires.
The fires, massive enough to see from space, are now about the size of the Grand Canyon. They've been burning for more than a week.
We didn't have time to do anything, just get dressed, get out of there.
Ken and Marcy Albers returned to the town of Vacaville Monday to find a pile of ash and debris where their 3-story home once stood. Their neighbor died in the fires.
By the time I saw the fire, his place was already burned down.
Further south in Santa Cruz, Mark Kuchler battled flames with the help of a friend's old fire truck.
This whole side was engulfed in fire, racing towards the house here.
He saved nearly a dozen homes in his neighborhood.
I feel proud of myself. I feel that I'm really happy that some people get to go home to their house.
Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News.
Now, you may have noticed 2 sets of firefighter uniforms in that last piece, and that's because the state of California pulls firefighters from 2 different labor pools. Those in yellow are career firefighters. According to the Sacramento Bee, they were paid an average of $91,000 in 2017. But those you saw in orange are actually prison inmates. They make $2 to $5 a day plus $1 per hour when fighting fires. However, they are not immediately eligible to work as firefighters once they're released. According to the New York Times, hundreds of inmate firefighters were missing from the front lines this week. They were already back home thanks to an early release program to protect them from the coronavirus. New York Times San Francisco Bureau Chief Thomas Fuller is the reporter behind that article, and he joins me by now over the phone as he follows these fires and looks at the state of prison labor when it comes to these things. Thomas, thanks for speaking with us. Just break down for us the impact the lack of prison labor is having on the ability of the state to fight these blazes.
Well, thanks, Errol. I ran across this last week when I was rushing to the site of the earliest fire, and I met this cattle rancher who said, you know, something strange happened this time. We're used to fires around here, but we didn't see any of the inmate firefighters who were usually the first to arrive on the scene. They do the hardest work of the firefighters. They clear strips of land to protect homes and other things and other valuable places. And so they will come through with chainsaws and hand tools, and they'll create these strips of dirt that firefighters call fire breaks. And this year there have been few inmate firefighters on the line, and that is because, as you said, the governor of California released thousands of inmates early from prison because of the coronavirus, decision made earlier this year before these fires started. So this year, indeed, there are hundreds fewer of inmate firefighters who do this crucial job in California.
It's so interesting that you speak about having your eyes open to this only just last week. I too was following some of the news updates, and I saw an image someone posted online showing their boyfriend who was an inmate and a firefighter. And this person was effectively saying that he had a real sense of purpose. He loves helping the community, and they felt it was ironic that here he is risking his life as an inmate to help people, but he wouldn't be eligible, wouldn't be able to apply to be a firefighter because of his record. I'm wondering, now that you got the chief of CAL FIRE Santa Clara unit saying we're in a mega fire era, might there be a consideration now for these inmate firefighters who are obviously essential to be able to become professional firefighters when they get out?
Well, I think the image you're talking about is of Francis Lopez, who is one of the people I interviewed for the article. He was an inmate firefighter a few years back. He's now a bartender in Fresno. And it's not quite accurate to say that they're not eligible to become firefighters, but it's difficult for them because they have felonies on their records, and so it's they need to sometimes go to a judge, go to the court to have their records adjusted, because California has now downgraded felonies to misdemeanors in some cases. But it's just harder for them compared with other people who go through a fire training course, who have clean criminal records. And that's one of the things that Francis Lopez and others talked about, which was they wished that there were a clearer pipeline from inmate firefighter to professional firefighter. And it's something that, with the shortage of firefighters that we're seeing now with these massive fires, it's something that people are talking about.
And based on those conversations, what is the view of the program in general? I mean, whether it's those who are incarcerated or free, what are the opinions on having inmates be this type of labor force?
Well, they vary. I mean, some people flat out call it slave labor and say, they shouldn't be paid just $1 an hour on the front lines doing this grueling work. But others, including the inmate firefighters themselves, say that it was an alternative to being in a prison cell. They had better food at these fire camps. They felt a sense of worth in the work that they were doing, saving homes. They felt a lot of gratitude from the owners of those homes, who sometimes held up signs saying, "Thank you, inmate firefighters, for saving our community." So the views vary, but I was struck that when I spoke to the inmate firefighters themselves, who volunteered to do the work — it's not something you're forced to do — then they said it was very difficult, the hardest work they'd done in their lives, said one to me, but it was also something that they valued.
Really insightful stuff. New York Times San Francisco Bureau Chief Thomas Fuller, thanks for bringing this to our attention and speaking with us about it.
You're welcome.